RB1 has entered the draft. The Senior Bowl's got a new quarterback. We saw history in the bowl games. And what are the best Christmas movies? All that and more tonight on the Draft Countdown podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's edition of the Draft Countdown podcast. I am your co-host, Brian Bosarge, as always with me, my co-host, Shane P. Hallam. Shane, 126 days, 22 hours, 58 minutes, and 20 seconds away from the 2023 NFL Draft.
We're knee-deep in bowl season, which means we're getting knee-deep in NFL draft season as we have players still declaring going back to school. The NFL's starting to wrap up. That number one overall pick almost locked up. Might be locked up here in this next week or two. So I just can't wait. We're in the NFL draft time, and everyone's moved into that section that we've been here for months.
Shane, how'd you like that snazzy new video entry?
That was good. Dwight Peebles, a good friend of mine, and both of us made that for us. He's spectacular, and I loved it. I think it got me hyped up. Like I was feeling it, more than I ever have. No offense, Brian, to your intros in the past, or the lovely, generic one that we slapped on for so long.
Yeah, it was good stuff, Dwight. Appreciate you hooking us up with that. As always, if you're live in the chat tonight, drop a question there. We'll answer it at the end of the show, or send it to us on Twitter at Draft Countdown, or join the Draft Countdown Discord. You can find a link to that at draftcountdown.com on the search bar there in the top right-hand corner. Join us, ask us any question there. We'll answer it either in the Discord or live at the end of this show tonight. As always, and good fun and discussion there over on the Discord channel. You mentioned that the number one pick, Shane, was just about wrapped up. I believe it can be wrapped up this week, if I'm correct. If the Texans lose, I think they will lock it down. They've lost 9 consecutive games. But they sit at the top with the 1-12-1 record. Chicago has lost 7 in a row, but they could have won several of these games that they have lost. They're a few players away, and they've got their quarterback already. Seattle sitting here at number 3, thanks to their trade of Russell Wilson, and Denver has just not been good. The Rams not been good either, coming off the Super Bowl. And thanks to the Matt Stafford trade, the Detroit Lions, who currently are on the cusp of the playoffs, will pick 4th. The Arizona Cardinals, just bad injury luck for them, and maybe just bad coaching and bad play in general in some spots, but they sit at 4-10. And in the 5th spot, the Colts, 4-9-1, turning to Nick Foles at quarterback this week to try to right the ship, maybe win a couple of games here. The Falcons and Panthers and Saints are all 5-9, one game out of first in the NFC South, but all sit currently with top 10 draft picks. But, of course, Philly gets the Saints pick if they they get the Saints pick no matter what. And picking 10th, the Raiders. Shane, have you ever seen anything like the ending of that Raiders-Patriots game last week?
I'll never forget the ending of that game. This weekend of NFL football was some of the best that I've seen. The Vikings' historic comeback. I mean, it was a crazy weekend. It's Nick Foles going to play this week. and Trace McSorley starting for the Cardinals. So I'm not sure if those
God.
teams are getting any better. And, I'm making a prediction here. Houston wins this weekend. They beat Malik Willis and the Tennessee Titans.
Wow. Yeah, the Bengals and Jaguars both came back from 17 points down to win their respective games last week. And since we're in the Christmas mood today, I saw a great meme in regard to the Raiders-Patriots game. It showed Chandler Jones as the reindeer and Mac Jones as Grandma.
That's good.
That was good stuff. Good stuff. But yeah, so that's the top 10 of the draft order this week. Shane going on the record that the Texans will not lock up the first overall pick this week.
Yeah, that's my prediction. I'll pretend like it didn't happen if they lose.
Who's in, who's out of the 2023 NFL draft this week? Some major underclassmen declared for the draft this week. Shane, probably none better for you, especially. And is this one? I saw it all over that 101 in the rookie drafts here for the Dynasty fantasy guys. Bijan Robinson, the running back from Texas, has entered the draft class.
Yeah, I mean, I tweeted on Twitter. I mean, I think Bijan's on pace to be my highest graded running back in like 12 years or so since Trent Richardson. He's 5-star recruit, number 1 overall recruit at running back, and he's from day one been just dominant in college football. Catches the ball. He's big. He's agile. He's got enough speed. Like, he has the full package. I just think he's going to step into the NFL. Not only is he the top rookie pick in fantasy leagues, I think he's the top running back in fantasy leagues right now. I'd rather have him than Jonathan Taylor on my fantasy team.
Wow. 2 other running backs declared. One of these is better than the other. Sean Tucker from Syracuse has entered this draft class, and I think he gets drafted on day 3, but Izzy Abanaconda from Pitt has entered his name into the class as well.
Yeah, I mean, Izzy Abanaconda had a really good year, some 200-yard games. He's was a track athlete in high school. I think he'll run really well. So maybe flirts with day 2, but I'm with you. I think day 3 he goes. Sean Tucker, I'm really interested. I think he's another one that's going to have good workouts, can catch the football. I know he's a favorite of yours early this season, and what he did for a team like Syracuse is big. So I think this running back class, almost everyone is declaring. It's a really deep group, and I think we're going to get 20-ish drafted.
Nice. The other notable underclassmen that declared, LSU defensive lineman Jaquelin Roy entered this class. I know you were high on him early in the season. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still there. He's kind of gone up and down a little bit. He's had some good games and fallen back. I think I have him ranked 11th in my defensive line rankings, but 315, big, holds it well, athletic for his size. I think he's an intriguing round 3, round 4 defensive line.
2 players. I mean, a lot of players announced they're either going back or entering the portal, but the 2 that we're going to focus on here, first from Washington, Zion Tupuola-Fatui was a talent, 2 years ago, potential top 10 pick coming off the edge, but had the injury in his 3rd year, and this year, and basically coming back from the injury, he's basically saying he's not ready yet, or he got a bad grade. The NFL saying you need to go back or something, but hasn't been as productive, I don't believe, since the injury.
No, he hasn't. I think that's a good call going back to school. I imagine he got that not round 1 or 2 grade and said, I feel like I can be a second round pick at least. And I think next year's 2024 edge class, it's just okay. So I think he has a chance maybe to be a second round pick next year.
And finally, the big return this week, obviously, for college football in general, and maybe the NFL draft, is Bo Nix, former Auburn quarterback, had a great season for Oregon this year. Going to be in that 2024 class. Shane, you tweeted that you think he's a top 5 quarterback right now for 2024.
I do, and a lot of that is we haven't seen a lot of these 2024 quarterbacks with these older guys sticking around for so long. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, I think outside of the players that we kind of have seen, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Quinn Ewers, I like Michael Penix more, who also went back to school. Then you're talking about the guys that have return. Bo Nix, Jordan Travis from Florida State, KJ Jefferson, Arkansas. So, I have Bo Nix at 5 in my 24 rankings.
There you go. Senior Bowl was light on names this week, but I mean, when you get to that roster size that they're currently looking at, we're going to start seeing tricklers now. They're basically, I think they're holding the spots left. They're holding out for some underclassmen, I believe, and such of that. But we only got 4 new names this week. 3 linebackers. One we're going to hold off and talk about in just a bit. But let's start with one linebacker here, Servassier Dennis from Pitt, right there in your backyard, Shane.
He's had a spectacular season. I don't think he's this super athlete, sideline to sideline player, but we talk about someone that plays special teams, solid there, good tackler, high football IQ. He was the leader on that Pitt defense, even more so than some of the defensive linemen. So I think it's a good add. I'm a little surprised that he got the Senior Bowl invite, but I think this season's what sold him.
Safety Chris Smith from Georgia has been pretty productive in that secondary for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, he's been good. He's kind of stepped up to the plate with all those Georgia players leaving last year, and the defense putting in some new faces. He was one of the old faces that stuck around to improve his stock, and I think he certainly has. In my top 5 safeties, I think day 2 is a real possibility, and I think he's among the best safeties that'll be at the Senior Bowl.
And last but not least here, a guy who I would have never before this season especially expected to be one of the 6 Senior Bowl quarterbacks, and that's Max Duggan from TCU, Heisman runner-up, has been nothing short of amazing this season for the Horned Frogs and is probably the number one reason they are in the college football playoff right now. But Max Duggan gets the call here, Shane, and we've gone on record saying we didn't think he would be a drafted quarterback, but he's going to get a chance down there in Mobile to maybe sway us and sway NFL scouts.
I think the opportunity is there for the taking right now as it stands. I don't think the quarterback group at the Senior Bowl is overwhelming. Like Max Duggan could be the best quarterback down there, depending on, do we get Will Levis? Do we get Jaron Hall? We'll see. The toughness, the athleticism, I think he can sell himself to get drafted late and be on an NFL team. So I need to go back and watch him. He's kind of one of those players. Obviously, I've seen TCU games. You're watching the quarterback, but not really with that type of eye in mind. So he could be a riser on my board coming up here.
Yep. So that's it. That's the 4 names we were going to talk. Like I said, we're going to talk about the other name in just a bit. But Shane, week 1 of the college bowl games, we're going to say they ended yesterday, based off our timeline of how we do things around here. So we're each going to talk about the best player we saw this week in our bowl games. And I'll start here. And mine was fairly easy there, Shane. In person, I was at the Lending Tree Bowl, and I got to see history, Shane. Not often you can say that when you go to a football game, that you see a historical feat. But I did when Frank Gore Jr. from Southern Miss, running back, 329 yards rushing on 21 carries, 2 touchdowns. He was also 2 of 3 passing for 19 yards and a touchdown. Did not catch a pass, sadly, in this game. But just he had 3 runs of over 50 yards in this game, including the one that sealed the record that he broke off, I think, for 56 or 54. I can't remember what it was. It was wild, Shane, to see that in person. He's got burst. Obviously, he's shifty. He's not big, obviously, a bit undersized, which I think is what kind of holds him back from being in that upper echelon of running backs. But what did you think of that performance from Frank Gore when you watched the game, and maybe what is his future in Hattiesburg?
You have to be impressed. I was super impressed with, like you said, kind of the burst that he has off the line of scrimmage just I thought was unmatched. Maybe the best I've seen from him. So we've been following him. We know his dad going to Miami, being a top tier, still technically in the NFL as a free agent. And so to see, I think Frank Gore Jr. is such a very different player from his father, but to see that performance is exceptional. And it's not the last time he's thrown the football either. So, he might be one of the best passers on Southern Miss. I think you tweeted out while you were there at the game.
It was their quarterback situation it's awful. And I really hope they get somebody there. And I know you said that you hope Frank Gore would portal up to a Power 5 school just to, kind of get that evaluation there. I want him to stay. Play one more year at Southern Miss and stay, because it's just I got to write about somebody in my Sunbelt column, Shane. So I need him to stay. But I found this stat. CFF Nate tweeted this out. Frank Gore, a running back at Southern Miss, has more passing TDs, 7 over the last 2 years, than 4 of the top 9 QBs from the 2021 high school rankings combined. Said, in fact, he has as many or more passing touchdowns than 24 of the top 30 quarterbacks in that class.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So, he's a football player. And that's what he does.
Yeah.
He's one of the best athletes on the field in these Sun Belt games. And in that bowl game, I think he was the best player on the field, clearly breaking the record.
I voted for him as my top all-purpose player on my All-American ballot. I know that's generally reserved for like your return guys and stuff like that. But I thought nobody to me stresses the word all-purpose more than what Frank Gore did for Southern Miss this season. Shane, you wanted to talk about Carlton Marshall, the linebacker from Troy, another guy I've talked about a lot this season, both on this show and in my Sunbelt columns.
And he is the other Senior Bowl invite that we didn't talk about. A Mobile, Alabama native, got the invite to the Senior Bowl after a really good bowl game against UTSA in that Cure Bowl. And look, Troy played really good defense. I mean, that's how they won 18-12. And Marshall was a big part of that. Not a lot of flash plays. He wasn't blitzing. He wasn't getting the tackle for loss behind the line, but he had 14 tackles in the game, 7 solo, 7 assisted tackles. And you could tell he is the leader of that defense. Clearly has that burst. I love the way his technique is. Like he knows how to wrap up tackle. He's not going for the big hit. He's bringing you down, and you're not breaking it. And that's what Marshall's done all year. I think it's what maybe stops some people from saying, oh, he's this top NFL draft linebacker, because he doesn't make those flashy plays all the time. But this is what NFL teams need. They need someone that can be a good special teams player, that can, get down the field, punts and kickoff returns. Carlton Marshall's going to do that. He's going to stop that return man. If he gets his hands on him, he's down. And then we see the injuries in the NFL. I think Marshall can be someone that steps in and just plays so smart and so well, and doesn't, knows how to get off of blocks, that you can't bench him. He's going to be a better player than where he gets drafted, I think, on day 3. So it was a rough bowl stretch for me in this first week of finding players that are going to be in this draft, that are draftable, that are great players. And Marshall's clearly one of them.
Yeah, it was a rough week for both. Like I said, had I not had this record-setting game right in front of my eyes, I too would have struggled a tad to find somebody. Shane, we generally don't talk about politics on this show, but they kind of impacted the draft this week a little bit. It's been a wild 5 days in this process to see it unfold. So I'll kind of like go through it here, and then we'll discuss it a bit more. But what I believe was the defense spending budget, Congressman added an amendment that would basically not allow, because it started in 2019, they had allowed academy players to postpone their service if they played sports professionally. But in this amendment, that it blocked that. Shaming online and publicly ensued, mainly thanks to Pete Thamel, the ESPN columnist, who brought it to everybody's attention, because this this year we have, and we've discussed it, we could have a potential first round pick playing at a service academy at Army's edge rusher Andre Carter, who's going to be at the Senior Bowl. After this, they was basically altered to where now they had to reach bipartisan agreement that they will change the amendment to grandfather in the current athletes that are at the service academies, and they can seek professional sports and postpone their service. But if you start going there now, you will not have this option. So good for Andre Carter. To a lesser extent, guys like Kyle Patterson from Air Force this year, who could be drafted late as a tight end prospect. So Shane, unwrap this from your side, or how you think about it, and what do you think about the situation?
Well, I think it shows the power of media, social media influence. It's not like the people I think that were tweeting at some of the congressmen and women were Army fans, right? But I just wanted to see Andre Carter get what he thought he was going to get, and Kyle Patterson as well, I think, got lost in a lot of this. I think it was just a mistake to put it in and not knowing the situation. I do feel bad for future players because I think this really kills this ability. Like if you have any shot at going to the NFL, you can't go to a service academy, even if that means a lot to you, or you want to serve your country. You just can't do it. And I think that is going to be difficult in the future. And I could definitely be wrong. It's I'm trying to find the amendment and read it, and it's not really available. But some of the reports that it's just the upperclassmen, even if the freshmen, sophomores are still locked in. So who knows? Maybe there isn't anyone. But I do think there should be some type of clause, not even just for professional athletes, but if you have someone that's going in the service academy, that's a great singer. It has fame there. Like that's going to promote the service academy. Like Andre Carter playing in the NFL will have more people applying to the service academy that want to get in. It's going to help. And I think that's what gets lost here. It's not someone duping their service like was indicated in the initial amendment. It is, a player that's able to be an ambassador for the United States military. I think that is as probably more helpful than on whatever service Andre Carter does himself.
I can't remember his first name, but it was maybe 5-6 years ago. It was the long snapper from Navy, signed Cardona. Yeah. Signed with New England. I don't know if he was drafted or if he signed or undrafted, but he was allowed to defer his service. But maybe 2 years after that, Jalen Robinette, a wide receiver from Air Force, basically got screwed. And they wouldn't let him go. And that's when the changes were made in 2019 that allowed this, the players to go forward. And you're somebody like Andre Carter, you're like, who could have transferred out. I think you're allowed to transfer after 2 years out. And he didn't. He stayed. And then he was almost dealt this blow, but now it seems like he's going to be allowed to defer and, seek his professional playing career. But as you said, this is recruiting to the service academies was already difficult in the new NIL era and transfer portal era, where the academies couldn't bring transfers in, couldn't do it. And you can't receive NIL money because you're essentially a government employee and you're not allowed to take endorsements, right? In theory. So they were already limited there with that. So I asked you this, and I don't think they will, because Air Force competes every year in the Mountain West, but they're going to continue to get limited, where I think at some point, if they stay in the FBS, these service academies are just going to get hammered every single year until they're like winning 1 or 2 games a year. It is a move to FCS better off for them?
Yeah, I don't think I'm quite there yet, like you said, because I think they've had success and continue to have some success even without a lot of players going to the NFL or even being considered. Um, but I think what it does do is, if you're there those first 2 years, you are getting an assessment of your abilities. If you feel like you could be an NFL player, and you got to get out,
You got to go.
You got to go. Because even with this change in 2016, you mentioned Joe Cardona, who long snapped for the Patriots this past weekend, and Keenan Reynolds as well, the quarterback. They got approval from the Secretary of the Navy, basically like, okay, this amendment takes that off the board. Like, Secretary of the Navy can't even do that now. And I think that's a problem too. It can't even be on a case-by-case basis. So I'm not there for moving down a level. I think they could still compete, but I think there's like you said, there's a number of things, and in 10 years, 20 years, you might not be wrong.
My thought process, mainly because in every other sport, the Air Force Academy excluded, but in every other sport, correct me if I'm wrong, but Army and Navy play in the Patriot League, right? And every other sport, which in football is a non-scholarship league at the FCS level. So that was where my head was at, as far as a move down goes, at the very least for those 2 academies. But yeah, so I guess good for Andre Carter. Can't wait to see him at the Senior Bowl, Shane. And I'm sure he's going to be receiving a lot of media attention down there because of this. Don't think we'll be interviewing him for the draft countdown while we're down there. I think he's
You can do it, Brian. You can do it.
Well, I'll say this. He'll probably be one of the ones that they bring up in the major deals. I mean, they're going to have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, he's a super fun player to watch. So I know that. But Shane, let's move on now to this week's bowl games. Hopefully, fingers crossed, Shane. We're going to have some better action because it was rough last week. But let's start with the game tonight, Shane. It's 7 minutes in, and South Alabama and Western Kentucky playing in the New Orleans Bowl on ESPN. Currently 14-0. Western Kentucky, 2 drives, 2 touchdowns for the Toppers there. But Darrell Luter Jr., I know he'll be at the Senior Bowl. Him and Jalen Wayne both. I assume they're both playing. The quarterback, Reed, entered the transfer portal, but then pulled out, and he'll be back for the 2024 draft class. He's playing tonight. And like I said, for the Western Kentucky, I've been a huge fan of Khalef Hallasey, the corner there, who's, I believe, going to be at the Shrine game.
Yeah, I think this Western Kentucky offense now being attacked, the receiver Malachi Corley also returning helps in this one. But yeah, I mean, Luter and Jalen Wayne, the 2 Senior Bowl guys, staying in Mobile from South Alabama to go to the Senior Bowl. Definitely the highlights of this game. I've had it kind of on, but I'm excited to go back after we're done with the podcast to go back and start from the beginning.
6:30 p.m. tomorrow, the Armed Forces Bowl. I believe this is in Fort Worth at TCU Stadium, if I'm not mistaken. 6:30 on ESPN. It'll be Air Force and Baylor. We just talked about Air Force. The one time I tried to watch them play earlier this season, Kyle Patterson didn't play. Hopefully he will in this game so I can watch him. Baylor has several prospects to watch. I have not seen any indication of whether he is opted out or not, but Siaki Ika, the big nose tackle, he'll be at the Senior Bowl. He's the best prospect, I believe, for Baylor. To a lesser extent, Connor Galvin, their offensive tackle, I think is a solid prospect as well.
Yeah, I haven't seen too much on this one of anyone staying in or opting out. I'll also mention Brad Roberts, the fullback for Air Force. I think we'll get into a camp, one of the most productive running backs in college football this year, especially in the end zone. So I still think he has a spot in the NFL.
I always find it weird evaluating those guys because they're fullbacks, but they just run the ball. So it's like they're not going to run the ball as a fullback in the NFL. So it's I never know how to evaluate those guys, so I just generally don't.
That's one way to do it.
Coming up on 12/23, that is Friday, the Independence Bowl from Shreveport, Houston, and Louisiana, 2 p.m. ESPN. Is Clayton Tune playing in this one?
I believe he is. Yeah.
So Clayton Tune, Derek Parrish, going to be at the Shrine game. Edge rusher for Houston, been very productive this year. Nathaniel Tank Dale going to be at the Senior Bowl, is where one of the best return guys in this draft class, undersized to say the least. Wide receiver prospect. For the Raging Cajuns, there are a couple of guys to look out for. Their running back Chris Smith, edge rusher Andre Jones, and wide receiver Michael Jefferson, a Mobile native.
Yeah, and it's funny because the Houston guys are like, we're playing Clayton Tune, Tank Dell. Louisiana guys, the ones opting out. Michael Jefferson, Andre Jones are out of the game. They opted out. But which are two of my favorites. I think Andre Jones is really good. I think he's going to the Shrine game as well. So it's I could be wrong, but he's going to the Shrine in the NFLPA. So it's going to be a good one. I think it's actually going to be a really good game. Yeah.
You can't convince me otherwise that Louisiana tight end Johnny Lumpkin's not a couple meals away from being an offensive tackle. I'm telling you. Go ahead and make that. You ain't going to be a tight end, Johnny. Go ahead and make that conversion now and be done with it. 5:30 p.m. on Friday on ESPN, the Gasparilla Bowl in Tampa. I believe they moved this game over to Raymond James Stadium. It used to be at Tropicana Field, but they moved it over there. Missouri and Wake Forest. What is the story with Sam Hartman? Is he going to be in this draft class, or is he going back? Nothing has been said, right?
No, I'll be pretty surprised if he's in this draft class. I feel like it's either stay or transfer for him. There's been some rumors that he might even transfer, but it's getting late in the process here, so I don't know.
I think we've got another 3 or 4 weeks left in this portal window, so we'll see how that goes. For Missouri, they've got a pair of edge rushers that I like. Isaiah McGuire is going to be at the Senior Bowl. DJ Coleman, I believe, is going to be, I want to say the Hula Bowl, but it could be the Shrine. I can't remember, one or the other. He'll be there. And Javon Foster, offensive tackle from Missouri, surprise, he may be going back to school, is why I haven't seen him at an all-star game yet.
Yeah, I think that definitely can be in kind of same situation. So far, when I've heard, Wake Forest is at pretty much full strength, and Missouri has the opt-outs with DJ Coleman, Isaiah McGuire, who you mentioned, as well as safety Martez Manuel.
There you go. Christmas Eve, Shane, 7 p.m. on ESPN. I know you're going to watch this one instead of watching the Steelers, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely going to watch this right along with you Christmas Eve night.
You know, what's the ratings for that Steelers game going to be Christmas Eve night? Man. It's going to be freaking huge, right?
We're having my dad's family over there. They're like full Yinzers, and it's going to be on the TV. Immaculate reception. Anniversary. Franco Harris passing away today. It's going to be crazy here. The ratings will be through the roof in Pittsburgh.
Big number.
Big number. On Christmas Eve as well.
Yeah, everybody's home.
Right. Nobody's going anywhere.
So, I mean, Middle Tennessee, San Diego. We got sidetracked. Middle Tennessee and San Diego State playing in Honolulu Christmas Eve night. Not a whole lot happening for the Blue Raiders there. I'm going to be completely honest, but San Diego State's got some players. You keep shouting out Patrick McMorris to me, the safety prospect. I'm still a fan of Jesse Matthews, a receiver for the Aztecs as well. But those are the main guys for me in that game.
Yeah, I think those are the main guys. I like Jonah Tavai, the defensive lineman for San Diego State, a little bit. Jalen Lane, the receiver from Middle Tennessee, probably down the line could be a exciting player, but
probably not in this class.
Not in this class. Yeah, he won't be there.
12:26 on Monday, the Quick Lane Bowl from Detroit, Bowling Green in New Mexico State. I got nothing. We got one guy on their watch list, and he's a third-year player who I seriously doubt will be in this draft class. Andre Selden, the corner. Bowling Green, couple of guys. Christian Sims, their tight end, probably the main guy.
Yeah, I mean, this is not the best NFL draft
Not
talent.
not a compelling matchup for me, to say the least. Another not so compelling matchup for me will be on 12/27 Tuesday of next week, the Camellia Bowl in Montgomery. I have covered this game in person before, not this year, obviously. 11 a.m. kickoff here on ESPN between Buffalo and Georgia Southern. I made note during the bowl game draft that I watched like every other Sun Belt team this year except Georgia Southern somehow. So I opted for this one. Amare Jones, their running back, I believe is going to be in an all-star game. Kyle Van Treese, by the way, revenge game for him, I guess, is playing Buffalo, his former school. Not much of more than maybe a camp arm, if I had to guess, for Van Treese. Buffalo, James Patterson, their linebacker, I believe, is the top guy on their team.
Yeah, and probably my favorite Georgia Southern player, Derek Canteen, is transferring the corner for them, and I think Amari Jones is hurt. So this will be interesting to see if Georgia Southern can pull it up.
What you're telling me here is not a lot in this one either, Shane.
Yeah, not too much. I don't know, Brian. Maybe this week isn't going better for us.
We tried, Shane. We tried.
Yeah,
First Responder Bowl that same day on ESPN at 2:15. Memphis and Utah State. I haven't seen if he opted out of the bowl game. I know he's going to be at an all-star game, but Quindell Johnson, the Memphis safety, is pretty good. I know Nino was a big fan of his, and he can play. Utah State, not a lot happening there for me. I watched them play earlier this season. Best prospect maybe Alfred Edwards, their offensive tackle, or Byron Vaughns, the linebacker, but not a whole lot to go on here for the Aggies either.
Yeah, I haven't heard any opt-outs, so I'm excited for Quindell Johnson. Rodney Owens and Tyler Murray, the other safeties, are pretty good for Memphis as well, so that's probably the matchup to look at.
Birmingham Bowl, 5:45 that same day, Shane, on ESPN. You'll be watching Coastal Carolina and East Carolina, and I guess the big news here was the Grayson McCall transfer away. Thought he might end up at Auburn, but the word on the street is his credits will not transfer to Auburn, so he cannot be admitted, and that apparently is an issue. So maybe not Grayson McCall at Auburn now, as we thought. But that's the story. Players currently at Coastal Carolina, probably not a whole lot to write home about. And for East Carolina, don't think he's going to be in this draft class, but running back Keaton Mitchell is a stud.
Yeah. I mean, he's really good. I think East Carolina actually has, some decent players. I haven't heard of anyone not playing in this one other than Ryan Jones, their tight end, who I like. I think he's opting out of the bowl game. But yeah, Coastal Carolina, Grace McCall was hurt a lot of the year, and they're a good squad. I like Gerard Clark, their defensive lineman. So I think this actually will be a pretty good game. I'm excited to watch.
And finally, to close out the week, a good game, Shane. At least one good game where probably half the players have opted out. But 9:15 on ESPN is the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. I believe this game is played at the Diamondbacks baseball stadium. Oklahoma State and Wisconsin. No Spencer Sanders as he's in the portal. I'm just going to guess that Tyler Lacey and Jason Taylor have opted out of this game. Maybe Brennan Presley's going to play. Maybe. For Oklahoma State. For Wisconsin, you've got, Joe Tippmann, I think, is out. The guard. I believe he's declared for the draft and is sitting out. It's Keanu Benton, the defensive lineman who's going to be at the Senior Bowl.
He opted out. Nick Herbig opted out. I mean, like half of Wisconsin opted out of this game. So,
well, there went that. So we have completely said, "Hey, this is the best game," and it's gone. So anyway, that's the week 2 bowl. We promised everybody week 3 will be better.
Well, look, I got to correct myself because Grayson McCall is playing in the Birmingham Bowl. He is playing for Coastal Carolina and then transferring. I thought I remembered him saying that.
But he doesn't. But that doesn't affect the 2023 draft class. So we took him off.
So yeah, we took him off the list. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So that's it for the week 2 bowl games, Shane. Like I said, hopefully week 3 will be better.
Yeah. Well, look, this is the situation. If the bowl games don't mean anything, I get it. Don't play. It's fine.
Yeah, right. You're not wrong. All right, Shane, are you ready? Are you ready to cause some controversy? Are you ready to make people mad?
I think I'm ready for you to make people mad.
Oh, I am so gonna make people mad.
The Thanksgiving draft we did last year, you made people mad. So
I made people mad. Well, I can already anticipate that this is not going to go well, probably for me in the comments and the on the Twitter. We're going to put up a poll afterwards to see whose top 5 ranking is better. And Shane, the margins that you had from the Thanksgiving draft may be higher.
I don't know. People have different tastes, so we'll see. We'll see how we go.
Shane's going to put up a poll on the Draft Countdown Twitter account after this, and everybody will vote. We'll leave it up. I'll tell you what. We'll leave it up until Christmas.
All right. Yeah, I'll put up tomorrow during the day, so we get we get people looking, and then we'll leave it up. We'll leave it up till Christmas.
We'll leave it up till Christmas morning and let everybody open it. The gift at the end. All right, Shane. I'll let you start here because I believe you're going to be a bit less controversial than me. Number 5, Shane, for you.
So number 5 is kind of a weird one for me, but this is a classic that I love. It's Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, and I think if you've seen it, you've probably loved it. It's a Jim Henson movie about and kind of an Magi's Gift type situation with an Emmett Otter and his mom. Also, I will say like good songs, good puppetry. Like it's really fun. It warms your heart and has the best outtakes I've ever seen of any film ever. If you look on YouTube, because Jim Henson and company were just great at ad-libbing and doing crazy stuff. So Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas comes in number 5 for me.
Spoiler alert: this will not be the last Jim Henson creation that ends up on this list on one of our lists tonight.
On both of our lists.
Number 5 for me, because I was told that the animated Grinch That Stole Christmas 30-minute special would not qualify as a movie. My wife struck me down on that.
What?
So she made a ruling, said that eliminated Charlie Brown, Peanuts Christmas Special, and all that. Frosty the Snowman, all these were 22-minute television shows. So not movies. So in its place, I will sub in the Jim Carrey version of the Grinch That Stole Christmas, number 5 on my list. And will probably be the least controversial entry onto this list.
I don't think it's a bad movie, but I definitely prefer the animated one.
I do as well.
Definitely, I feel like that classic is definitely, the classic, right?
Yes.
So that's how I feel about it at the very least.
Number 4, Shane, for you.
I mean, number 4, I think it maybe is a little bit. I don't think it's controversial, but I think it can be a little bit weird depending on how you categorize it. But I'm going to go with The Nightmare Before Christmas. Maybe is it a Halloween movie? Is it a Christmas movie? I don't know, but I definitely the focus is Christmas. I think once again, just like killer songs. The claymation is great, and I think you're just getting some of the best. Just I don't know, some of the best like directed animation that I've seen. So I really like kind of the dark tone of it. Ultimately, I'm all in for Nightmare Before Christmas.
There you go. Shane goes with Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas here at number 4. I originally had another at number 4, and I was informed that since it was called a special, it cannot be called a movie, and was released. And it was released.
I would have accepted all these, by the way.
It was released just a month ago on Disney Plus, and because I felt like Marvel would need representation here, I was going to go with the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special that was just released last month. Shane, spoiler alert here. I am not a fan of traditional Christmas movies, as you have not picked up on this at this point in time. But so since I cannot include the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special that was included last month, I will go with Jim Henson's Muppet Christmas Carol here at number 4 because I am a humongous fan of the Muppets. And, well, if I'm going to put one in here, that was the only Muppets Christmas movie.
Yeah. I guess that's what that is. I guess if these like specials and TV movies are out, then that is my number 2. Actually, is the Muppet Christmas Carol is the number 2 on my list
because you've now had to cross off the list here.
No, well, I actually had it's cheating. I actually had any Muppets movie that has to do with Christmas. My favorite's actually Muppets Family Christmas. If you've not watched the full version on YouTube, is my favorite. But I mean, my wife and I just watched Muppets Christmas Carol, so I'll take that as my number 2. We can touch on it again when we get there, but
okay,
I'm there.
All right, so if that's number 2, Shane, what's number 3?
Number 3, I'm going with a newer classic to me, and that's Elf. Elf is funny. I think Will Ferrell's phenomenal, though I would have liked to seen the original playing was Chris Farley in that role, which I think would have also been hilarious. I feel like Christmas films, it's like really the older ones are better, but I think Elf was the first one to come out and just be a classic Christmas movie. You have the fish out of water situation, and it has that kind of Christmas tone. It makes you feel warm, make you feel the season, but also enough humor that I really like it.
Let's start some controversy here. At number 3, Gremlins.
It's a good movie. I consider
Gremlins is number 3 for me on the Christmas movie, and people say it's not a Christmas movie. That is crap. The entire premise of the movie is Billy gets a Mogwai for Christmas. That is his Christmas present from his father. Therefore, Christmas movie. It hits all the Christmas tropes. It just has comedic horror. Gremlins, number 3 on the list, Shane.
So does any movie where someone gets a Christmas gift count as a Christmas movie? Is that?
I'm not sure, but this whole movie basically takes place Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So and the premise of like I said, I feel Gremlins is a Christmas movie, and I am going to roll with it at number 3.
Now, look, I consider it because I think Gremlins is an excellent film. So I'm not opposed to that pick. As I said, my number 2 is Muppets Christmas Carol. I'm with you there. What's your number 2, Brian?
Number 2 on the list for me is the Billy Bob Thornton led Bad Santa.
Oh no.
I absolutely love this movie because I am a fan of quick-witted profanity, of which this movie has a lot. And it's just a hilarious movie. I laugh every time I watch it. The interaction with him and the young kid is just amazing to me, and I love Bad Santa as a movie, and it is number 2 on my Christmas movie top 5.
I guess fair. Definitely a Christmas movie this time, so I think that's a plus.
No debatable on that. No debating that.
No debatable on that. I think you have a pretty good list so far. I like Bad Santa. I don't think it'd become close to my top 5, but I did like it. So.
All right, Shane. Number 1 for you before I you at this point you have figured out where number 1's going to be.
I think I know where you're going.
You know where number 1's going to be. What is number 1 for you, Shane?
This was the easiest choice. It was like 1, and then let me make the rest of my lists. Number 1 is Home Alone. It is the greatest Christmas movie of all time. It once again, has the feel of Christmas with Macaulay Culkin. You get the violence. You get. I just watched it again, and some of like the small Easter eggs and things that they put in to really make the plot work. Where it's like this is pretty insane, right? But they thought about that. I just love Home Alone. I like Home Alone 2. It was definitely a consideration for the list as well. Lost in New York. I think there's now like 8 of them. I'm sure that anything past that's pretty bad, but Home Alone is absolute classic, and I was obsessed with it as a kid.
My problem with Home Alone is I know what I like in a Joe Pesci movie. And this wasn't it for me.
I'm not sure it's a Joe Pesci movie. I know he's in the movie. I don't think it's a Joe Pesci vehicle here.
It is not. Before we get to my number one here, any consideration for you given to A Christmas Story?
I am not a fan of A Christmas Story. I'm not a fan. I've watched it once. I didn't think it was very good. But I don't know. I'll get skewered for that, I'm sure.
There is probably no other Christmas movie I've seen more times than the one that will be number one on my list because, it's on 24 hours a day on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And my wife loves that movie. So I inevitably end up watching it all the way through at some point. Number one on my list of top Christmas movies is Die Hard.
All right. I knew it was coming. We all knew it was coming.
We knew it was coming. We knew it was coming. And I don't care if Bruce Willis says it's not a Christmas movie. I don't care. Bruce Willis's opinion on this matter does not matter to me. Wow. The premise of the movie is man is going home, flying across the country to spend Christmas with his children. He goes to a Christmas party where terrorism ensues. And he has to kill a lot of people and buildings blow up. But he inevitably spends Christmas with his family, Shane. That is heartfelt Christmas movie all the way. Die Hard, number one Christmas movie.
I really feel the heart with your top three. The Die Hard, Bad Santa, and Gremlins. It's all about feeling in the Christmas spirit. So I feel that.
Yeah, I'm not a holly jolly guy there, Shane, if you haven't figured this out by now. But that is our top five. Let's do a quick recap. Shane's top five: Jug Band Christmas, number 5; 4, A Nightmare Before Christmas; 3, Elf; 2, A Muppet Christmas Carol; and number 1, Home Alone. For me, number 5, the Jim Carrey How the Grinch Stole Christmas; number 4, A Muppet Christmas Carol; 3, Gremlins; 2, Bad Santa; and number 1, Die Hard. That is our top 5 Christmas movies. And again, we'll put up the poll on Twitter, and we'll leave it up starting tomorrow, and give you a couple of days to vote on who has the definitive Christmas movie list to watch. Or
I think we know what the best Christmas movie is, right? We're only sharing one movie. It's got to be it. It's got to be Muppet Christmas Carol. It's got to be the best one.
Quick score alert. Western Kentucky is now up 21-0 on South Alabama.
Austin Reed is
not going good for the home school here. So I believe we've got a couple of questions on the Discord. I don't think we got any on Twitter, did we?
No.
None in the chat. So let's go to the Discord and get to a couple of questions here, Shane. Sam asked early, but what are the weakest looking position groups for the 2024 draft? Spoiler alert, Shane, your Christmas present to everybody on Monday will be a 2024 mock draft. So are there any position teams should be more keen to trade up for in this draft to avoid a drought coming in 2024?
Yeah, I think there's a couple, and we'll see, right? We still have some returns and transfers and all that to sort out. But the big one for me, and I think it bodes well for the 2023 group, is corner. I think corner is a weaker class in 2024. We have Kool-Aid McKinstry at Alabama, maybe Denzel Burke at Ohio State. And I think after that, it's been a lot of guys that haven't played, or, we have the 2 North Carolina guys that are transferring. Like, what's going to happen there? I think there's a lot of question marks in that corner position that makes me, I don't think it's quite as good. The other one is offensive tackle, which I think will get there. Like, I think the talent's there. We have Joe Alt from Notre Dame at the top. You have Olufashanu. Like, I think those two are elite players. After that, it's a lot of questions because a lot of these top recruits haven't played, right? Guys are going back to school 5-6 years, and we just haven't seen a lot of them play. So we'll see, can Miles Hinton transferring from Stanford to Michigan, can he kind of step up? I think offensive tackle will get there, but I think that's those are the two positions I'm most worried about at this point.
I'm going to be honest. There's not a whole lot to get excited about in that group of the 2023 class right now, either outside of a handful of guys. So we'll see. Brad Menendez, our staff mate here at Draft Countdown, asked, who's been some of your favorite transfer portal moves so far here in the portal cycle?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's been some fun ones. Like quarterback wise, I'm excited about Colin Schlee going from Kent State to UCLA into Chip Kelly offense. I think that's an interesting one. I think he could turn into a legitimate NFL prospect there. Um, and I think receiver. There's just been a ton. Dorian Singer going from Arizona to Southern Cal. I think he's a tremendous prospect and going to fill that Jordan Addison role. So I'm really excited for him. TCU's loading up. JoJo Earl from Alabama, their starting receiver, is going to TCU, probably to fill the Darius Davis role. So that's fun. And look, I got to shout out your tight end, right? Jaheim Bell going to Florida State. I think it's a great fit. And Michaelan Castles from UC Davis transferring up to Tennessee, tight end is also interesting.
Anxious to see where Marshawn Lloyd ends up. Obviously, the South Carolina running back who's in the portal. I like low key. I like Mason Cobb, the linebacker from Oklahoma State, heading out to Southern Cal as well. That's a good name to look out for. Very productive this year for the Cowboys. All right, Shane, that's going to do it for tonight's show. I got some news. Some very positive news for myself and Draft Countdown. I'm going to break here in a second, but any final thoughts from you today?
No, I'm excited for what's to come on the site as well. So keep checking back, and if you can, give us a review on the podcast. I know Brian always ends with that, but it'd be great to start to see that as people come in. Hit us up on Twitter. I want to interact with people, so just want to maybe get a little more interaction. And as we get into draft season, if you want to know what we think your team's going to do, ask us. I'm happy to talk about it.
So let's get the word out about the YouTube channel too. Let's get those subscriber numbers up a little bit. We need to drive this. We're starting to do more shorter video content from the podcast, and like I said, we're going to get into some YouTube shorts here at some point as well. So we want to get those subscribers up, man. Let's get this video content rocking and rolling. Some great news, positive news for myself, Shane, and for Draft Countdown. I was credentialed to cover the Gator Bowl this year between Notre Dame and South Carolina under the Draft Countdown umbrella. So I will be heading to Jacksonville the end of next week to watch South Carolina and Notre Dame. They're playing that. It's going to be my first time ever in Jacksonville and my first time, obviously, covering a bigger bowl game. I've covered the Lending Tree Bowl. I've covered the Camellia Bowl. I've covered the Birmingham Bowl. But this is the first time covering, what used to be a major bowl. Now it's not as big, but still, one of the upper bowl games.
Okay, that's exciting, man. I'm excited for you. I'm proud of you for getting in there, and that's a big one. That's a big one. I know it's your team, but Notre Dame as well is it's got to be tough. So I'm excited to see what you come out with. Excited to hear your thoughts on Twitter during the game, and your write up for the site's going to be killer. I know.
Yeah. Well, that's going to close out the show tonight. As always, follow me on Twitter at Deep Fried Draft. Follow Shane on Twitter at Shane P. Hallam. Follow Draft Countdown on Twitter at Draft Countdown. And as always, go to draftcountdown.com for all of your daily draft information. For Brian, for myself, Brian, for Shane, Merry Christmas, everybody. Good night.